Commanders, welcome back to the port. You are looking at the French Tier 7 Tech Tree Destroyer Le Fantasque, the subject of an upcoming Nerf on Monday. I think this Nerf is a mistake. We're going to show a couple games in the Le Fantasque. Keep in mind, I am an average player. I've never tried to hide that. And so this is what the Le Fantasque can do in the hands of an average player, which is why the Nerf is a mistake. Our commander for the first game is D'Artige du Fournet. His base trait is Incendiary. I know you're wondering why I'm using the base commander in the Le Fantasque. The people who are on the ball already know, but we will go through this build. We're inspired by Swirsky and Bay, so it is a concealment build. I would love to increase Du Fournet to get the HE shell damage increased, but I just don't have the promotion orders. I suspect after the nerf, many players will choose contact as imminent if they use this commander in the first row, but for now we are using Burn It Down XXL. In row 2, we chose Look at Me Now. In row 3, we chose Velocious. And in row 4, we chose Steer Clear. And part of that is this destroyer doesn't have a smoke screen, so really the only other viable choice is Reaching Out XXL. But we also chose that because we're using Fully Packed instead of Unstoppable. Let's take a look at the loadout for the Le Fantasque and the upgrades. Upgrade number 1, Main Battery Mod 2. Upgrade number 2, Propulsion Mod 2. Concealment System Mod 1. And Main Battery Mod 3. I did run the Torpedo Launcher Mod 3 for several games, but I found because I didn't have a smoke screen, I was getting roasted and that was going offline all the time. You wouldn't really use the Fire Control System Mod 2 because these shells get floaty at about 7 kilometers, and you wouldn't use AA because there is no AA. So I know Main Battery Mod 3 and Main Battery Mod 2 kind of offset each other, but that's why I did not use the torpedo launcher. All right, so when you look at these stats, you know, that's what it gets down to, an 18-second turret turn time, which is why we use these two mods and a 5.5-second reload. All right, so we've got 2 charges of the main battery reload booster and 3 charges of the engine boost, thanks to Fully Packed. We are running the common battle booster for speed, and because Wargaming hasn't seen fit to grace us with the permanent camo for the Le Fantasque, we are using a permanent Type 1 camo and the 1-year strong flag. In this build, we have 18,500 hit points. I already talked about these guns. They do 2056 HE damage with a 12% fire chance and 2700 AP damage. Same guns as in the Terrible. And don't be fooled into thinking the Le Fantasque is a gunboat. It is not a gunboat. Torpedoes, you got 3 triple tube launchers in this build. They reload in 86 seconds. They are 0.4 of a kilometer more detectable than the ones on the Le Terrible. These are detectable at 1.8 kilometers. The range is 8.3 kilometers, and the torpedo speed is 76 knots. And that's the stat that's going to get nerfed. Aaa Defense, why really talk about it? It doesn't have good AA. It does have good speed, 44.8 knots with the speed boost flag, and the rudder shift is 4.1 seconds. And with this build, you have 5 kilometers detectability on the water. All right, so I've mentioned a couple times already, the Le Fantasque is not a gunboat. It is not a gunboat. I'll say it one more time. It is not a gunboat. It has the 3rd lowest DPM at Tier 7. It's ahead of the Kajiro and the Udachi. That's it. Every other destroyer Tier 7 is better at the time this video is being recorded. So don't be fooled into thinking it is a gunboat. The only time your DPM can hang And I'm not even talking about hanging with the Akizuki or hanging with the Fletcher. I'm talking about hanging with like the Tashkent or the Z23 or even the Lightning is with that main battery reload booster. And so that's why I use the base commander in this playthrough to show you the benefit of having two main battery reload boosters. Because without it, you have the third worst DPM at tier 7. Don't be fooled, this isn't a gunboat. I said it one more time. All right. So we're in a sixes and sevens match, top tier, capture the base. No aircraft carriers, so that's pretty much an ideal scenario for the Lay Fantasque. And another, while I'm ragging on wargaming decision making, who came up with the spawns for this map? Because everything, if you draw a line from our cap to their cap, every ship spawns to the right of that line. And that doesn't make any sense. And I'm talking about right as we're looking at it, not as they're looking at it. Everything is to the starboard side of my ship. It shouldn't be that way. The ship should be spaced out across the map. Good grief. All right, so we've got a Miyoko. I am looking around for the one destroyer, and I'm not seeing him. I'm seeing a Miyoko and a Queen Elizabeth. So we're going to launch 3 torpedo launchers on the Lay Fantasque, one to each side and one in the middle that can go either way. No judgments. And there's the Z-23, a ship that has better DPM than we do. In either case, whether it's running the 150 millimeter guns or the 128 millimeter guns, it has better DPM either way. And it's not particularly close. All right, so the Queen Elizabeth went behind the island, the Miyoko went behind the island, the Z-23 dropped out of our concealment range. So I'm kind of cutting back, hoping to see the Queen Elizabeth and maybe torp at it because we are a torpedo boat. That's what torpedo boats do. So we are torping. And I thought I was going to give it a spread, but I did not because I wanted to run into this island. Instead, I will turn back. There's the Miyoko. Hey, teammates, shoot at the Miyoko. And as you can see, I just came to a stop here, not knowing if he was going to cut back or not. And my torpedoes are still wending their way toward the Queen Elizabeth. Enjoy that torpedo speed while you can, because it's going to be 5 or 6 knots slower after this ship gets an unnecessary nerf, in my opinion. All right, we got 1 torpedo strike, 2 torpedo strikes, no flooding. That's not very cool. The Miyoko spots us, but before anything bad can happen, one of my teammates wipes him out. Thanks, teammate. All right, so we're cutting back here for 2 reasons. Support. We are hoping to torp from the starboard side launcher at the Queen Elizabeth, and also because the destroyer is somewhere off our port bow, and I just don't know where. So it's very tempting to go into the cap, but there's no reason to do that. And there's the Queen Elizabeth. If this pesky island was not here, she would be probably in the process of sinking us right now. So I'm going to get to where I can launch. I am spotted, I guess, and I launch a spread of torpedoes. That wasn't that great. And I duck behind this island, and there's the Z-23. So I want to say the difference, and I don't have the DPM numbers for D'Artige Dufournet, but I would imagine they can't be much better than Filippo Bueno. And I want to say it's something like 93,000 damage per minute. With Violette, it's an even 100,000. With the low caliber guns, the non fully upgraded Z-23, The DPM's 112,000. And I want to say with the 150s, I think it goes as high as 123,000. So the Z-23 gives away his position by shooting. Unlike me, the Z-23 really is a balanced ship. It can do just about everything. What it can't do is shoot torpedoes at me, although I think those may have been intended for my teammate. So I'm cutting back towards the smoke screen as my speed boost kind of peters out, hoping to be able to spot him. But as you can see, he's very smartly moving within the smoke because I think he's to my port bow, and we'll find out here that he's really not. He's straight off the bow. All right, so I turn into him fully and I hit one of my main battery reload boosters. And as you can see, when that is going off, and I'm being aided, of course, by my teammate, um, you are able to do some work with the main battery of the Le Fantasque. But keep in mind, if that was an Akizuki or any U.S. destroyer, a Fletcher, that would have gone very badly. The Lightning, I mean, maybe with the main battery reload booster active, the Lightning, you could get that. But clearly, I was aided by the cruiser behind me who was shooting at him as well. All right, so here's our friend, the Queen Elizabeth, and I would really love to sink the Queen Elizabeth. I really would love to. And as you can see, I'm headed nose at because the Queen Elizabeth has really good HE. And if they're running Cunningham, it's going to be very accurate. So I just didn't want to play around like that. However, I do give a wide torp spread before flipping back around. But you know what? All those torps were in waste, friends, because my teammates are doing their job. Even though it's a tie game, uh, these guys behind me are just ripping it up. So they ripped him up. Here's the Ochakov. If I remember correctly, I think that is the new HE Spam Russian Tier 7 cruiser. I really don't want a lot to do with that. There's the Siegfried German Tier 7 cruiser. And way off in the distance is an Iowa who has yet to be sunk. So there really aren't a lot of good choices here. Both these ships, if they see me, could wreck me. But then I remembered that I'm relatively concealable, and the Ochakov takes full value from one of my teammates, and that is a bad day. A really bad day. So I say, what the heck? He's really hurt. Let me throw some shells at him. And I start a couple of fires, which I believe he immediately damage cons. And I turn again and shoot, but it is all for naught. My teammates did the work there. And we went from a tie game, literally, in terms of the number of ships destroyed, literally like a minute or so ago. And now we have double the amount of ships that they do. So the Siegfried here, I'm not saying he knew I launched torpedoes, but he is going to beach himself and do the island, and really that just makes him a sitting duck for everybody over here. And I'm counting one, two, three, four, five ships, including me, are shooting at him. And yep, he had a bad day too. All right, so there's the Iowa. Well, maybe I can kill the Iowa. He's trying to run away. It's a big, tempting target. So I hit my speed boost. And as you can see, the Le Fantasque, when fully engaged, I think we'll get somewhere. Oh, I'm turning. That's not the way to go fast. We're going to break 50 knots here. I want to say, I think it gets up to like 53 and change, 54 maybe. I did see a guy on Reddit. I'll just name check, D.A. Derpington. I want to say he did a speed only build and got it up over 60 or right at 60. But you can't play this ship like that. All right, so the Iowa strayed a little too close, and we luckily kill pinched him for our second kill. And now you see the enemy ship is in our cap, and I got a lot of speed boosts left, so I'm going to head that way. And so, with a competent team in the hands of an average player, I hate to say it, the Lay Fantasque is not some do-it-all destroyer that can just wreck face. And like has been said in several of the Reddit threads complaining about this upcoming nerf, what happened is that most players who are less than great stopped playing this ship or never got to this ship. So the only people that play it, and I'll be the one exception that's not a great player, do really well in it. And Wargaming is just looking at spreadsheets and statistics and blindly deciding, oh, this ship is too powerful, therefore it must be nerfed. Oh no, it's not that powerful. I think I put to bed the idea that it's a gunboat. It's not a gunboat, not with that horrific DPM. And it's an okay torpedo boat, but they're nerfing the torpedoes. And I say okay torpedo boat because it's not as concealable as the true torpedo boats in the Japanese line. All right, so here's another playthrough, this time with the torpedo commander, Filippo Bueno. And as always, he's inspired by Swirsky and Bay. His base trait increases HE damage. In row one, we chose Subsurface Venture, which is going to slightly lengthen that reload. Row two, Fragile Threat. Row three, Torpedo Safari while losing a little gun range. Row four, Destroyer Be Destroyed. We're going to lose a little shell grouping. And Legendary Skill is Unstoppable. All right, so let's see the difference in these two builds. Again, these are the same mods that we had last time. So there's not really any difference there. Again, if you were really going to go all out, I guess you could choose the torpedo launcher mod 3 here in terms of a torpedo build, but I don't really like the idea of choosing main battery mod 3. I've just found that those torpedoes got knocked out all the time. And I already explained why you wouldn't use these two mods. And of course, it is a fully upgraded destroyer. All right, so we only have one main battery reload booster in this one and two engine boost consumables. And everything else is still the same. We're still running the common battle booster for speed. The permanent Type 1 camo, because Wargaming won't give us this camo. And the 1 year strong flag. No, I'll just hedge. Maybe they did have it in the store for 5 minutes. I missed it. With this build, 16,650 hit points. Our reload is now 6.1 seconds. We do slightly more HE damage, and our fire chance is dropped to 10%. So we do take a little bit of hit on the gunplay. But as I've already explained, this is the gunboat, so who cares? And our AP shell damage is the same at 2,700. Torpedoes reload in 75.7 seconds. The detectability 1.8 kilometers, the range 9.2 kilometers, and the speed is 80 knots. So my understanding is that when this is nerfed, that will drop to 76 or 75 or 74 knots. I read the number, I just can't remember how many knots it's being parsed or cut back by. Again, the AA, meaningless, worthless, unless they're right on top of you. Max speed, 46.6 knots with a 4.3 rudder shift, and concealment, 4.8. So in the last build, we had 6% concealment in row two, and it was 5. In this one, we have 10% concealment, and it's 4.8. So only you can decide if that's, I mean, if the trade-offs you've seen are worth it to max up that base commander in order to get two main battery reload boosters. I mean, the only person that can answer that trade-off question is you. All right. So we're here on Crash Zone. It's one of these weird matches with domination. Sixes and sevens. There is a fail platoon on the enemy team. The Dallas is in there. And there are no aircraft carriers. So again, this really ideal circumstances for Le Fantasque to get to work. But if you saw the enemy destroyers, two Mosses and Akazuki, and I don't remember what the fourth one was, but I'm not confident that I think it was another Le Fantasque. I'm not confident in what it was, but I'm also not confident that we can win a whole lot of gunfights here, which is we're going to have to judiciously save our main battery reload booster for when we will truly need it. All right, so let's see a full-out port build of the Le Fantasque in the hands of a average player in a good match for us. This could be legendary ships with an aircraft carrier. I mean, it could be worse. This is ideal circumstances. Now, this map layout isn't necessarily ideal. I think ideally we'd like the three open domination caps, but it is what it is. So I put some torpedoes out there just in case I catch somebody slipping. And as you can see, we're cruising at our max speed. There is a Nelson. I'm a helpful guy, so I helpfully point him out. I also helpfully point out a Gneisenau. And he is too far away to torp at, but I just like to think, oh, maybe a destroyer is going to come around the corner of that island and run into those torpedoes. All right, so here we're checking the range of the Nelson. My teammates are actually helping me out on this side, which is good. So, I mean, look, folks, you got to pay attention to what your teammates are doing. If everybody ran over to C and you want to YOLO it over here near B, uh, I would not do that. I used to do that all the time in World of Tanks. I would not advise that in this game. Unless you're so good, you don't need teammates. All right, so the Nelson is in range. And there's a Dallas and a destroyer over there because the Dallas doesn't have a smoke screen. So I'm going to turn away. I'm going to torp at the Dallas. And I'm going to turn my guns back toward this mystery destroyer. And he torped. So I know he doesn't have torpedoes anymore. So I feel pretty confident. And look, it is a Moss. So I point him out to my teammates before I break concealment. I think I was seeing if the Dallas would run into my torpedoes before I shot. Yeah, clearly I shouldn't have paid any attention to that. I should have just been shooting at the Moss. I'm just waiting for my teammates to soften them up for me, you know? So I shoot at the Moss. I'm not sure what I'm doing looking back like that. The Moss drops spot. The Dallas shot at me, and thankfully I turned and he missed. I'm trying to get my torpedoes back around. However, I don't want to torp with a friendly in between me and the Dallas. Maybe they need a friendly torpedo indicator of some sort because I see it all the time. I blow my horn when a ship's going to get into my torp line. All right, so I torp at the Dallas and then I decide to engage the Moss because the Dallas is busy and I shoot more torpedoes at the Dallas. And then I'm going to shoot at the Dallas because he is closer than the Moss, and so he's more dangerous of an enemy. And somebody gets a torpedo strike on the Dallas. And then I'm going to torp at the Nelson because why not? And then I'm going to. Am I going to hit my speed boost? I swear I'm going to hit my speed boost. I swear I'm going to hit my speed boost. I swear. How else am I going to catch up to the Moss if I don't hit my speed boost? And this is kind of the absolute range that you want to be engaging with your French guns. Right there, the shell arc is pretty good. There's the speed boost. But you get much farther away than 7. The shells do start to get a little floaty. You can see there. So I would say 7 is the max. and we get a torpedo strike on the Nelson, and we're still shooting, and one of my teammates kills the Moss. All right, so there's the Nelson. He is flooding because of our great torpedo jobs. However, he stops the flooding. So all we can do is turn around and head back towards A and try to capture A. Because yeah, the Nelson's not going to be there for us to kill. So that's that. So right now, because I'm planning to capture A alone, I'm encouraging my teammates to head towards Charlie in order to get everybody over towards Charlie because they got 3 destroyers over at Charlie and they're only down a Moss. So they have a Aaa Fantasque, another Moss, and an Akizuki. So I suggest this, and my teammate helpfully says, no way. So I thought about responding, but I'm just like, whatever. He will figure it out when I capture A. Hopefully. So we go into A, and we're going to capture A because that's what we do. So yeah, let me beat this drum a little more. This nerf for this ship is not necessary. This is a torpedo boat. You are nerfing a torpedo boat. The Akizuki, that is a gunboat. Okay. If this was a gunboat, I could understand nerfing the torpedoes. This is not a gunboat. This is a torpedo boat. And that's why I normally use that base commander in it to get the extra main battery reload boost because this isn't a gunboat. And believe it or not, you will have a fair amount of gunfights in this ship. And the big difference between this ship and the Le Fantasque, which is in the same class of destroyers, they're both Le Fantasque class destroyers. The difference is that the Le Terrible has a faster main battery reload. And so it doesn't suffer from the same problems that the Le Fantasque does. All right, so it wasn't another Moss, it was a Fletcher. Yeah, I don't want anything to do with well, maybe it's a Moss and Fletcher. Either way, the Fletcher will rip me to shreds. The Akizuki will rip me to shreds. In the Moss, if I get my main battery reload booster on him, that's one I might be able to beat one-on-one, even though he has more DPM. So we're pointing out this Colorado, way too far away for me to mess with. And my teammates really listened. There's only one battleship over here, and he's about to get razored by a couple of destroyers. Everybody else is behind me. So a little map awareness from your teammates is always a great thing. I guess I just didn't get that today. All right, there's the Akizuki. I get my guns on target and I hit the main battery reload booster. There's no time to waste. The Akizuki's DPM is something like 205,000 per minute. 205,000 damage per minute. So you have to use the main battery reload booster. And you can see he did a pretty good job. He damaged me about a third of my health. Okay, so I had to do that. That means I don't have it left for the Fletcher and for the other Moss. All right. So we're going into A. It's our job as a destroyer to cap A. We're capping, or C, sorry. We're capping C. And I'm going to cut back here to port. I'm going to do a U-turn. Most importantly, because I don't think the Colorado is going to keep going this way. I think he's going the other way. And I'm hoping to get torpedoes out on the Colorado as well as engage in a gunfight with one of these destroyers and hopefully win it. So we've cut back against the island, and he is in torpedo range. However, there's a rock formation in the way. So we're going to wait until he gets past that. And then we're going to launch a spread at him. And as soon as I am confident this is clear, I think I just ate a bunch of my friendly teammates' torpedoes. So sorry about that. I had to do it. So we're going to launch a full spread. I think he's turning more. And what the heck, we're going to shoot at him. Maybe I shouldn't have done this. And I think you'll see why coming up here in a second. But although I was hidden, I did shoot at him, hoping to start a fire. So he burns his damage con, and I get a torpedo strike. There's the Moss. He is at the very edge of our effective range. So I'm shooting at him. I'm hoping my teammates will shoot at him. As you can see, with my skill choices, the dispersion is not what I hoped it would be. And here's the Fletcher, the best DPM at the tier. He is ripping me up. I torp out on him. My teammates hit him pretty hard. I don't hit him very hard, and he kills me. I mean, we did do a little bit of damage. I'm hoping these torpedoes get the job done. They don't. They do not. Maybe if I had another main battery reload booster and I hadn't cut back like that to get torpedoes out, I may have been able to beat the Fletcher. Um, I really doubt it. And I wouldn't have been able to get those torpedoes out if I didn't turn because we had just sent the starboard side torpedoes toward the Colorado. So maybe some different decisions could have altered the outcome slightly. But at the end of the day, the lay Fantasque is not a gunboat. It doesn't matter how many, and I'm hopscotching my teammates to find the other destroyer. Gosh, he has almost no health left. He's just lucky to be alive. When you're talking about the late Fantasque, you have to evaluate it as a torpedo boat. That's why I use a bueno on it because the DPM says it is not a gunboat. In Legends, I've been lectured ad infinitum, even when I wasn't arguing the point that you have to build to your ship's strengths. The strengths of the Lay Fantasque, even though it's a larger destroyer, definitely don't lend it to gunboating because the DPM is so bad with either commander. Uh, Violette, as I mentioned, it tops out at 100,000. A Bueno, it's just north of 93,000 per minute. And the top ships are over 205,000, more than double. So it's not a gunboat. Um, when I'm feeling salty, which is most of the time, I do put in that base commander so I can get 2 charges of the main battery reload booster. There isn't really a way to fix this except for not nerfing it. I mean, it's a torpedo boat. Why would you nerf the torpedoes? You want to nerf it, nerf the guns. You're taking away from the best point of the ship, and you're kind of forcing it to be even worse than it already is. It doesn't even shoot 10 torpedoes. Some of the ships of this tier have 2 quadruple or quintuple launchers, so you have less torpedoes. So I just don't understand the nerf other than the way I explained it earlier, which is how it was explained to me that the only people left that play the Le Fantasque are really good players, so they do really well in the Le Fantasque. As you can see, I've just done 2 back-to-back games where we barely scratch 50,000. All right. So if the really good players are giving it the high stats, and the high stats are the reason you're nerfing it, there is no reason to nerf it. Don't nerf this ship. All right, so we go into the results. Just over 50,000 damage, just over 290,000 silver, 3 kills, top of the board. I can't take credit for that. I mean, I just think it was more of a team effort. You can look down, you see Colorado got 2 kills. This is really the ideal circumstances for the late Fantasque, but you're seeing in the hands of an average player, it's pulling 50k damage a game. Not worthy of a nerf. Don't know why they're nerfing it, except they're looking at raw numbers.